everyone. I hope all is doing well. Tilden Brown here once again. Today I'm going to give you an update on how my garden is doing. Everything seems to be growing pretty good in the garden. The collard greens are coming along. Unfortunately, you got a bunch of bugs that are eating away on them. So I picked up some stuff here called 7. This is a dust product. I've used it before in the past, and it worked pretty decent. And by the way, I don't get paid to advertise their product. Really not even sure who makes it, but it's a product I picked up from a local farmer. They said the stuff works really well. I took their word for it, tried it, and it did. Basically, you just dust it a little bit like so. Past couple of days we've had a pretty good rain and everything is growing as it should. Have the squash here in the middle. Those are coming along nicely. Have some pepper plants here next to it. Over here on the far end we have the tomato plants. They're still growing. No tomatoes just yet, but still early along in the season. Then over here behind the fence here we have some cabbage and a few more of the green plants over here as well. And then along the very edge of the fence itself we have cucumbers. Okay, and along the very edge here we have cucumber plants. Have those going along. And the fencing that I have here so that the vines can grab a hold of it and allow them to grow in a vertical position. They turn out well that way. You're able to get more out of them. And then it also gives you more room in the garden for all of your other plants. In addition to using this 7 dusting product, you're also supposed to not use it 5 days before you're going to actually harvest them. And being that it's going to be at least another, I'd say 2 to 3, possibly even 4 weeks before I do any harvesting of those, this is perfectly fine for today. Some of them is going to be even longer than that because I planted them at different times. The ones on the end here I planted earlier on. The smaller ones were a little more recent. And over here I have a couple more pepper plants. These are the jalapeno peppers. They're growing real small at the moment, but as time goes on they're going to obviously get larger. Well, that's the update on the garden. Keep you posted when we get closer to harvest time. Just a real quick recap on the update on my garden. In this particular photo here, what you're looking at is all the way to the upper portion of the picture there is the collard greens after I spreaded the 7 powder on it. That's to keep all of the bugs off of it from eating the plants up. As I said earlier, it does work very well, but you do have to stay on top of it. I kind of got behind because we had a lot of rain several days back to back, and that hampered being able to do that because once you put it on there, the rain's going to wash it off. So preferably the best time to do that is immediately after a rain, if there's no more rain in the forecast. And then that way it gets to stay on there, because that way once the bugs get on it, the bugs will taste it, they won't like it, and then they'll stay away from it. Right behind that is the squash. That's the yellow squash, and that is actually doing pretty good. There's some very tiny ones on there where you see the yellow flowers. Behind the flowers is the small squash bulbs. Still early in the season yet. This is the northeast where I am. Typically, we don't harvest that till somewhere around late August, early September. And same thing with the collard greens and many of the other things that are in the garden. The tomatoes, however, they within the next 3 to 4 weeks should start producing pretty well. In this particular photo, another shot of the squash, and then along the back edge of the fence, more collard greens. One of the other final tips on this is that what I always do is once a week I get in there with my garden hoe and I go in between the rows and just kind of move the dirt back and forth to loosen it up because it does get compacted by the rain, time, weather, and so forth. And so I just loosen it up a little bit. I also have a compost bin, and also throughout I take just a little bit of the compost and throw it in there as well in between the rows and put that in there. But typically I do my compost as far as the large yield of it at the very beginning before I plant anything, and I let it sit for a week or two and then I plant. But in between time throughout the season, I just add a little bit in there in between each and every row, and it does make a big difference. I've noticed that since I started doing that a couple of seasons ago. Hope you liked the video. If you do, hit that like button, and once again, thanks for watching.